We are starting with chapter number 5, that is sensory, attention, and perceptual processes. So, in your previous chapters, you have studied about how we have specialized receptors to respond to a specific stimuli present in external and internal environment. Um, with these special receptors present in our body. So some receptors are observable, like your eyes and ears, but then there are some which are not observable. So in this chapter, you will study about uh, various receptors that collects a variety of information from external and internal world. So let us start. So the world in which we live in is um, full of variety of different kinds of objects, peoples, and events. So if you look at the room you are sitting in, you will find many things. So if you are sitting on a chair, suppose there's a book in front of you, you are keeping your hands on your table, you have your bag besides you, so you have curtains on the window. So you are surrounded by different kinds of objects. Okay, so their sizes, shapes, and colors are also different. And also you will notice that there are several other new things. Okay, if you go to some other room, and if you go beyond your house, you will find that um, there are many more things that you generally know about. If you go outside your house, you will find trees, buildings, and you will see animals as well. So if someone asks you how can you see that these various things exist in your room or house or in outside environment, you will most probably answer that you see or experience them all around you. In doing so, you are trying to tell the person that the knowledge about various objects become possible with the help of our sense organ, that is ears, eyes. Okay, so these organs collect information not only from the external world but also from our own body. You can see a building, you can see an animal, you can uh, hear a sound, a dog barking. That's how you register all these informations in your body, right? You are touching something and you're feeling hot or cold. You can feel the temperature. uh, how is it happening? Through your sense organs. So the information collected by our sense organs forms the basis of all our knowledge. The sense organs register several kinds of information about various objects. However, in order to be registered, the objects and their qualities, example size, shape, color, must be able to draw our attention. The registered information must also be sent to the brain that constructs some meaning out of them. Thus, our knowledge of the world around us depends on three basic processes called sensation, attention, perception. These processes are highly interrelated, hence, they are often considered as different elements of the same process called cognition. So, see, there are several things in the environment. Okay, we will not have a count in our hand if we start seeing that there are so many things around us. Okay, so do we um, perceive everything? Of course not. Okay, so there are a limited number of things that we see, that we feel, that we smell, that we touch. So uh, so um, we do not register everything from the external environment. Okay, so there are certain things that we feel, we register it, and then further process it. Okay, so thus our knowledge of the world around us depends on three basic processes. So since everything you cannot perceive or you cannot receive everything, there is a whole process that you have to go through. Okay, if you are seeing some external stimuli, so you have to go through a complete process. Okay, suppose you have touched something or felt something. So first of all, there has to be a sensation, okay, of the stimuli. Then your attention will have to be focused on that particular stimuli, and then you have to perceive it. Okay, so these are the three processes: sensation, attention, and perception. We will be learning it, what is sensation, attention, and perception, in details later in the chapter. Okay, so a stimuli which we see in the environment or feel in the environment or hear in the environment has to go through these three processes. Okay, then only it gets registered in our head. Okay, so that is sensation, attention, and perception. Okay, so these are the three processes that it has to go through. So these processes are interrelated, and together the whole process is known as cognition. So sensation, attention, and perception together is known as cognition. Now let us talk about nature and varieties of stimulus. So like I already said, that the external environment is surrounded by a wide range of stimuli. Okay, so some of these can be seen, some of these can be heard, like music, and some of these can be only some of these only we can smell, like fragrance. Some of these we can only taste, like eating sweets. So there are still others that we can experience by touching, like softness of a cloth. All these stimuli provide us with various kinds of information. Okay, so like I already said, that there are specialized sense organs to deal with different kinds of stimuli. We can see through eyes, we can taste through tongue, we can hear through our ears. Okay, so for different kinds of stimulus we have different sense organs. So these sense organs are also known as sensory receptors or information gathering system, because they receive or gather information from a variety of sources. Okay, so these sense organs are also known as sensory receptors or information gathering systems, because they are gathering information, collecting information from different sources of the environment. So which are your sense organs now? These are your eyes, ears, nose, and tongue. This you have studied from your childhood. Okay, from primary section you have been studying that yeah, you have eyes for hearing, nose for smell, tongue for taste, and skin for experiences of touch, warmth, cold, and pain. Okay, so and also there are specialized receptors of warmth, cold, and pain which are found under our skin. So these are the 5 external sense organs that we have studied about since our childhood, right? But then there are other 2 deep senses also that we will be talking about in this chapter. So they are your kinesthetic and vestibular systems. What do? They provide us with important information about our body position and movement of body parts related to each other. Okay, so they provide us information about our body position, like whether we are standing, sitting, and movement of body parts related to each other. So if I am lifting something, or if I'm throwing something, so all this information about body posture and body movement, these these sense organs, that is your kinesthetic and vestibular systems, are responsible, or they provide important information of these positions and movements in our body. Okay, so so now we have an idea about different kinds of stimuli in our environment, and the process uh, the, the process of cognition, sensation, attention, and perception, and how our brain processes this information. We will be studying in details later. So nature and varieties of stimulus. The environment has different kinds of stimulus, and we have different kinds of specialized receptors, that is our sense organs, to receive this information. Okay, and then the whole process of cognition happens, which we will be studying later. Now let us talk about sense modalities. So our sense organs provide us with first-hand information about our external or internal world. The initial experience of a stimulus or an object registered by a particular sense organ is called sensation. So now we are starting with the process of sensation, okay, which is the first process of cognition. So sensation is the initial experience of a stimulus or an object registered by a particular sense organ, and it is known as sensation. So it is the initial experience, okay, the first experience. It is a process through which we detect and encode a variety of physical stimuli. So this is the first process where we detect, okay, a variety of physical stimuli. Sensation also refers to immediate basic experiences of stimulus attributes such as hard, warm, loud, and blue, which result from appropriate stimulation of a sensory organ. So if you touch a hot glass of coffee and you feel that it is hot, so you feel a sensation, the first experience, that is known as your sensation. Okay, so the loudness of some sound, hardness of an object, warmth of a coffee cup, all these are your sensations. Okay, different sense organs deals with different forms of stimuli and serve different purposes. Each sense organ is highly specialized for dealing with a particular kind of information. Hence, each one of them is known as sense modality. So, like we already know that there are different sense organs which are specialized for dealing with particular kind of information. So, hence, each one of them is known as sense modality. Okay. So now moving to functional limitations of sense organs. This we will be studying in the next slide. Now let us study about functional limitations of sense organs. So our sense organs cannot see everything or can hear everything. There is a limit. Okay, there is a certain range that we can see objects and we can hear objects. We can hear sounds. Okay, so if the light is very dim or if the light is very bright, we cannot see. If the sound is very loud, okay, it exceeds a certain frequency, or it is very fragile, the sound, very low sound, so that range also we cannot hear. There are other animals or organisms who can hear better than us. Okay, so they can hear beyond the human range of frequency. Okay, they can hear beyond that range. Okay, so you must have heard about okay, dogs can hear better, or these animals can hear better. So basically what happens is that they hear beyond our range. Okay, beyond our range of stimulation of sounds. Okay, so there is always a range between which we hear things or see things. Okay, so the relationship between stimuli and the sensation they evoke has been studied in a particular discipline called psychophysics. Okay, so there is a whole branch where they study about the relationship between stimuli and the sensation they evoke, and it is known as psychophysics. So now let us study about what is absolute threshold or absolute Lyman, or difference threshold or difference Lyman. So what is it? Okay, so in order to be noticed, a stimulus has to carry a minimum value or weight. We cannot notice every stimulus in the environment. Okay, there has to be a particular minimum value for that stimulus to get noticed by us. Okay, so now we will be talking about that. Okay, so the minimum value of a stimulus required to activate a given sensory system is called absolute threshold or absolute limit. Now for example, if you add a granule of sugar to a glass of water, you may not experience any sweetness in the water. If you add another granule to the water, then also it may not make it taste sweet. But suppose you have added 5 granules of sugar, and at that point of time it will start tasting sweet. You will notice that the water is now sweet, it's not bland anymore. So that minimum number of sugar granules required to say that water is sweet will be the AL of sweetness of the water. So here you added 1 granule of sugar in the water, it didn't taste sweet. You added 2 granules of sugar into the water, it's still bland. You added 3 granules of sugar, it is still bland. Okay, then on the 5th granule of sugar, when you have added in the water, it has started tasting sweet. It has made a difference in the bland water. Okay, so what happens then? The minimum number of sugar granules, that is 5 sugar granules, okay, that we have added in the water and we have made the water sweet, will be the AL of sweetness. So 5 granules of water is the AL of sweetness. Okay, so I just for you all to make understand, I am saying 5 granules of sugar. It can be anything. Okay, it can be 6 granules of sugar, it can be 2 granules of sugar, and it varies across people also. Okay, like for example, you and your friend, for you maybe 3 granules of sugar will make the water sweet, but your friend may not feel only that it is sweet. Okay, that oh, the water is still bland, I cannot feel any sweetness. But for you, maybe 3 granules of sugar may make that difference. Okay, so this absolute threshold or absolute limit is different across different individuals and situations. Okay, it is not fixed. I just gave you an example of 5 granules to make you understand. Okay, so for you it will be different, for your friend it will be different, for your parents it will be different. Okay, so you must have observed that if you add a cube of sugar in your teacup, someone else will add 2 cubes of sugar, because for that person, in order to make a cup of tea sweet, he or she requires 2 cubes of sugar. For you, maybe it's just 1 cube. Okay, so AL, that is absolute limit or absolute threshold, varies across among individuals and situations. Okay, so again, what is AL or what is absolute threshold? It is the minimum value of a stimulus required to activate a given sensory system. Okay, so given sensory system, as in this example, it has activated this the taste. Okay, the taste of your tongue. Okay, taste is felt by your tongue. So tongue is your specialized receptor to feel the taste, whether it's sweet or bitter or salty. So in this example, it has activated the sensory system of your tongue to smell the sweetness of the water. Okay, so um, the minimum value of a stimulus required to activate a given sensory system is called absolute threshold or absolute limit. So I think this example is clear. So it is like this for other sensory systems also. Okay, whether it's your eyes or your uh, or smell or any other organ. Okay, it's like for example fragrance also. Okay, so if you have spread some perfume on your body, so you may be able to feel that fragrance maybe after spraying it for 2-3 times only, and not the first time. Okay, so if you have sprayed some fragrance on your body, some deo or perfume, and on the third time only you are able to you are able to smell it. Okay, so that third number of time will be the AL of fragrance of the perfume. Okay, so it is like this for all sensory system. Okay, I will give you some more examples, so don't worry. Now let us talk about difference threshold. Okay, so see, now in this above example, okay, you added one granule of sugar, 2, 3, 4, and on the fifth number of granule you feel the sweetness. Okay, then you add another granule of sugar, sixth granule, you will feel the same sweetness, okay, the way it was before. Then you add another granule of sugar, the seventh number granule of sugar, then also you feel that okay, it's the same kind of sweetness. But suppose on the 10th granule of sugar you find it to be too sweet, that okay, it was sweet before, now it's too sweet. You can feel the difference. Okay, it was sweet, now it's too sweet. So from sweet it has become too sweet. Okay, so there is a difference now in the sweetness of the water. It was not sweet, then it became sweet, now it is more sweet. There is a difference between sweetness and more sweetness. Okay, so this particular difference, the smallest difference in the value of two stimuli that is necessary to notice them as different, is called difference threshold or difference limit. To understand it, we may continue with our sugar water experiment. As we have seen, the plain water is experienced as sweet after the addition of certain number of sugar granules. Okay, so let us remember this sweetness. The next question is how many sugar granules will be needed in the water in order to experience its sweetness as different from the previous sweetness. So we go on adding sugar granules one after another, tasting water each time. So after addition of few granules, you will notice that at one point of time the water is now sweeter than the previous one. The number of sugar granules added to the water to generate an experience of sweetness that is different from the previous sweetness on 50% of the occasions will be called a DL of sweetness. Thus, difference threshold is the minimum amount of change in physical stimulus that is capable of producing a sensation difference on 50% of the trial. Okay, so now what is this? Okay, like I already told you that suppose there are 5 granules of sugar in water and it is sweet, then you keep on adding sugar granules to the water to make it more sweet, and suppose on the 10th number of 10th number of sugar granule you feel, oh, there is a difference. Okay, it was sweet before, now it's more sweet. You feel the difference. Okay, in the sweetness of the water. So that difference of sweetness in the water, if you try it, uh, um, suppose if you try doing that 10 number of times, and out of those 10 number of times you feel the difference 5 number of times, that is 50% or 50% of the trial. Okay, then it is known as the DL of sweetness. Okay, so as in like this is like an experiment, so you have to do it. Okay, so suppose you tried it 10 number of times, and out of those 10 number of times, 50% of the times, that is your 5 out of 10 times, it uh, tastes sweeter. Okay, it is now sweeter, then it is known as the DL of sweetness. Okay, Thus, difference threshold is the minimum amount of change in a physical stimulus that is capable of producing a sensation difference on 50% of the trials. So now do not get confused because of this 50% of trials. Simply think this like an experiment, okay, that you are experimenting, and then obviously in experiment you have to try, okay. So suppose you have tried this experiment like adding another 5 granules of sugar to make it more sweet, and you do it 10 number of times, okay, 10 number of trials. So out of those 10 number of trials, 50% of the times you feel that it is sweeter, okay. 50% of 10 will be 5 times, okay. So 5 number of times it comes out as sweeter. Then we can say that 10 number of granules is the different threshold of sweetness in the water in this particular experiment, okay. So this is it. If there is any confusion, then I can give you more example and I can make you understand, okay.